Hello, everybody.
So let's keep talking about Avery. Yeah, let's keep talking till he's set free. Oh, you just listen, I think you'll see why it matters. Really matters. Put aside the documentary, the state's version ludicrousy. Oh, all their claims so blatantly get torn to tatters. I think that matters. I bet you heard about her last sweat, but maybe you ain't heard this yet. 19 more times the DNA that was left anywhere else that day. I think that matters. I really do. I think it matters. An ex-boyfriend with a day planner page, and yet they did not investigate. And who knows why, and who can say why he was signed into the crime scene that day. I think that matters. I really do. I think it matters. About the barrel that once was seized, but then returned to the Averys. The bones were found the next day, but not one photograph exists of where they lay. I think that matters. I really do. I think it matters. I could go on listing things off, 80 more things.
A 10-part docu-song?
I just keep on singing these songs. To Avery, freedom rings. I said it matters. It really, I know it matters. It could be you, I think it matters. It could be me, I know it matters.
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello.
Work with Casey, it matters. I said it matters. It really matters.
All right. Hello, 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 everybody. How you doing? You know, when you listen to Stacy, it's just, I can't say this enough. I'll say it over and over again, man. When you listen to Stacy, it's freaking obvious, man, how much time that guy has spent on Reddit, in the investigation reports, in the trial documents. It's obvious how much time that guy has spent reviewing those things. He knows the case. He's not just some guy out there making songs, you know, and whatever. He had these ideas about making a murder, and he decided to put them to song. But the fact of the matter is, dude, and you listen to any one of his songs and you can hear it. The amount of detail he gets into at times, I just love it. I love Stacy's stuff, not just a little bit because I love his lyrical genius. I just think he's really, really good with his lyrics. He makes it all work. It's brilliant. So we are here today with Mark Hoddinott, talking a little bit. You guys know I uploaded a video earlier today that had some footage that Mark took last year when we were at Raleigh after I went home, because I only stayed for 2 days. I wish I'd have stayed longer now, but anyway, I only stayed for 2 days. Mark stayed for like a week. He ended up going over to Cuss Road, and he got some footage, and he you know, he ended up going. He got to go hang out and have a beer with Alan up in Crivets, dude. I was so pissed that I actually went back home when I found that out, because Alan was the one person more than anybody else that I really wanted to meet when I went there, and he was up in Crivets the whole time. And this guy ended up getting to go and meet him and have a beer with him. I was pissed. Anyways, congratulations on that, by the way. So how you doing, Mark?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm, as you can see, I'm back in my normal work garb today. I've not long got back to Australia from, yesterday morning, so I'm back in the swing of things. So good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you, my friend. So let's see.
And my last time online, I was with the Havering Scotsman in Galashiels.
The Mad Scotsman. I love the Mad Scotsman. We all love the Mad Scotsman here.
Yeah.
I want to get that clip up, but let me see here. Nah, it takes too long to find it.
So just to clarify a little point, well, I was over, as you said, I was over there in the rally in June, and I stayed a bit longer than you did. But I also went back a second time in August.
Yes.
About 2 months after the first time I was there, and it was in that second journey that I drove up. I was actually with Sandra Greenman, and we drove up to Crivets, which is about 2 hours, I suppose, north of where the Avery Salvage Yard is.
Right.
It's north of Green Bay, and we drove. We went up there unannounced, so we just turned up, and Alan was with a neighbour of his, a young man called John, who was neighbour, and they were pottering around doing a few things around their country cabin.
Right.
The amount of stuff that Alan's done, you know, he's a little crazy genius, Alan, in terms of the things he does, and he was unbelievably, well, not unbelievably, but just wonderfully hospitable, and after 30 minutes, you felt like you were long lost friends. And,
right.
And he took us around a tour of his property and showed us all the things that mattered to him. And I felt very honoured and privileged to have.
Did you get to see the bathroom that Carla Chase retiled?
I probably did.
You don't remember? I remember when she was bragging about it.
You might remember from MAM the stories about fish tanks and other things that they were going to do. He's a like a real do it sort of guy. Has lots of ideas and lots of little things he does, and it was kind of fascinating to be in that world, and it's a real
I'm sure having all that scrap metal and various things are hanging around made it easy to play the mad scientist, So.
Yeah, he's very inventive, right, and can create a lot out of seemingly nothing, and he goes up there weekly, and spends a few days up there and comes back to the Avery Salvage Yard in Michigan for half the week, and half the week he's up there, and so I was very lucky and very grateful that I did get to meet him, because when you meet Alan, you feel like you're meeting Stephen as well. So they're very similar. Well, it's best I haven't actually met Stephen firsthand, although I've spoken to him on a few occasions, but Alan's a very interesting man.
Yeah, I was when we were there, and I was like, Alan's not here. Dang it! I was just like so kind of bummed. I was like, dang it! So I really wanted to meet him. Like one moment that sticks out from the documentary for me is the part where Alan is going through the little garden they have there.
Yeah,
and he's talking. He points to those little green. It looks like a little green bulb, and it has like these long
rabies. He calls them rubbies.
Those. And he's talking about, you just take that, you just pull it right out of the ground, man. You just whatever, put a little salt in there, and just like like he's like talking about eating it like that, and he's like talking about everything in the garden. Just watching him, the way he was, talking, as he kind of went through that garden, just his personality, watching it come out. as he was like explaining through that guy. I don't know. I liked that. It really spoke to me. It just stuck with me. And then it was one of the reasons why I really wanted to meet him when I was there. I was bummed, but then you got to
Yeah,
go.
he showed me I think the official vegetable is called a kohlrabi, I think is what it's called. Never heard of it myself, but he proceeded to give me a few to take home.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's a man of the earth, Alan. You know, he
Yeah.
doesn't want for much, and he loves his garden. He loves all the little things he does around the place, and simple things keep him happy.
Yeah.
And he's very philosophical about Stephen's imprisonment.
Right.
He's obviously, as a father, deeply saddened and angered by it.
Yeah.
And but he hasn't allowed it to overcome who he is as a man. And you can learn a lot just being around him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, he just seems like he's been around. He's seen a few things in his lifetime. I was even, impressed watching him at his age in MAN too, when they had him in the garage there, and he was, still able to toss around some of the things in there, and
Oh
you
no,
know,
my God,
you
the
know,
top of an engine, or picks up the top half of an engine and
yeah.
throws it in the
I mean,
bin.
I mean, I, I'm a strong enough guy that I know I could pick that thing up and toss it around, probably easier than most people. But I also know Alan's been working with that stuff his whole life, man. Alan, say 20 years ago he could probably put me to shame strength wise and
Yeah,
dexterity wise, just because he spent a lifetime working with that stuff and building up his muscles. So for me it was like I know how strong he actually is, and so
yeah,
it is kind of a bummer to see him struggling with it,
yeah.
and so but it was good to see him. He was able to still do it and everything, so I thought that was cool. But yeah, gosh, poor Alan and Dolores, man.
I would say, look, I wouldn't pretend to know exactly how they feel, and that would be presumptuous of me to
Right,
suggest that. But
but I'm
I
sure
think
they miss Steven. I'm pretty sure of that.
that's what I was going to say. The big driving force is how they feel their son hasn't had a chance at life, and the impact that that's had on the totality of their family is a big issue for Alan and for Dolores for that matter. But for Alan, um, that's the thing that's missing for him.
Right. Okay, let me ask a question here. Okay, folks, quickly. Is there something you want me to talk about, or is there something you want Mark and I to address? If there is, go ahead and just say it right now. Well, no, yeah, okay, but Lisa, go ahead and just say it. What is it? What if there's an issue, we'll just talk about it. What is it? That's not it. Oh, it's the thing about Leo R again. Okay.
Oh, okay,
All
yeah,
right, let's talk about Leo R now, because
righto.
somebody's completely clogging up the live chat here because they haven't seen the previous video about it. So you went down Cuss Road, you checked that all out, right? And
Yes.
as you were, I take it was as you were leaving, about to get back in your car.
No, yeah. So what happened was it was in the trip in August, the second trip. Um, I decided I wanted to go back to Cuss Road. In fact, I'd been to many locations that we're all familiar with from the documentary. It was important to me to physically go there because it gives you a real sense of these things when we're talking about them. So anyway, I went back to Cuss Road. It was the second time I'd been there. Drove down the end of Cuss Road, got out of my car, climbed up on the burn and looked across the quarry to Stephen's place, which is basically a direct line from Cuss Road straight across the quarry to Stephen's.
Right.
And the quarry, by the way, I'm sure most people realise the quarry is much larger now than it was
Right.
during 2005.
Right.
The quarry, there used to be a road, kind of a track that ran across to Stephen's place, but now that's just all quarry. Anyway, I came down off the burn, got back to the car, and this guy comes pottering up in a golf cart. I'm pretty sure it was a golf cart.
Or
I can't remember exactly.
Right?
Something like that. Could have been a ATV type thing, but I'm pretty sure it was a golf cart. And he was pretty aggressive, actually, to me. He's kind of just saying, "What am I doing here?" Well, I'm on a public road, by the way, so I'm not on anyone's private property. Anyway, I introduced myself and said who I was and explained why I was there, which was I was just a dumb foreign tourist. Viewed the story about Stephen Avery and was visiting a few landmarks, and he proceeded to tell me a lot about what went on. And as I said in that little short video, he pointed across to Stephen's trailer and told me that that's where they killed her, over there.
Right.
Well, I didn't explain to Leo. He introduced himself as Leo, by the way. That's why I know.
Right.
That I'd already been over to Stephen's trailer in times before, and I knew the Averys well. I just let him talk. And so, anyway, he eventually left, and I got in my car. But before I left, I recorded that little video that you replayed the other day. So, and it was only when that story or that recording that when he rang Calumet, I guess, Sheriff's Office, and left that message that was ultimately passed on to Mark Wiegert, who sounded extremely dismissive of it. It's only when I heard that a week or so ago that I suddenly put the two events together. That is, that Leo and the Leo that I had met was clearly the same person. He just lived down the road. And I thought it was a little incongruous that he was sort of calling to say, as a good citizen, saying this woman had to come and knocked on his door.
Right. And now he's like, that's where it happened. Yeah. You can kind of see it. You know, it's like...
Well, I guess it's possible that he could have, obviously in the intervening period, he could have changed his mind about it. At that point, when this woman has knocked on his door, whether it was Teresa or not, he wouldn't have necessarily known
right,
the events that were going to unfold, and his opinion about those events may have been then changed and influenced by the circumstances that followed on from that time. But anyway, it was just interesting to me that he was involved in that early stage of reporting someone, and then had this very strong view about the fact that Stephen was the murderer. I guess with Brendan as well. The other thing I felt a little strange about that is Cuss Road is a very isolated road. You would only go down there if you lived there, or if you were looking for someone who lived there.
Right.
Why someone would knock on your door at 11:30 at night is a bit strange.
Well, it is. I mean, that's everything. Everything about it is strange. That's why I'm not talking about it, because I'm sitting here going, oh yeah, Leo's the killer, guys. That's it. He's the guy. He did all this. That's not what I'm talking about. All of this is strange to me. It reminds me, his story kind of going from being sure he saw Teresa at his door to telling you that's where they killed her, right over there. You can kind of see it.
Yes.
The shifting of that shifting. And we have, evidence of them, we have Scott Taddock's changing account of the fire that suggests that law enforcement continued to push for that fire to get bigger and bigger. We have Josh Rodant's affidavit now, and basically, his words now saying that he basically felt like agents of the DOJ, not Manitowoc, not Calumet, DOJ agents were pushing him, he felt, to change his account of the fire and the size of it and stuff. So, that leads me to believe, did something similar happen with Mr. Leo R?
Yes.
Did they jump on this after he called this in on the 5th, go over there and talk to him off the record, get him on board with whatever they wanted, and then it just, because it's like I said, it's never been my aim to talk about this and say Leo R is the guy, But it is damn odd because this is all in the area that the dogs were sniffing around. These dogs were all over the Cuss Road area and Quarry area, right next to where Mark was just at, where we're talking about. If you guys saw the video earlier, you know what I'm talking about. All those clips on Cuss Road. Right there is where all these dogs were going around hitting on stuff and everything. So it's odd to have a report of somebody saying they thought Teresa came to their door in that same area. It's just a little odd to me. I don't, and then to have that account change drastically, again, it's just a little odd to me. Why is it happening? I don't know the answers, and I'm not saying it's absolutely tied to this, but it's interesting. It's a little bit odd and interesting.
I also thought it was perhaps I'm wrong. I thought it was a little odd that he was quite aggressive to me because his home was probably a good 200 yards down the road. And there was a home between his house and where I was anyway. He wasn't the closest home to the end of Cuss Road. There's another place between. In fact, on the opposite side, there's a T intersection road called White Cedars Road, where there are other houses. So I just thought to myself, why did he take the effort to come all the way up to the end of the road and confront me? What was he worried about that I might have been doing? Or why was it of his concern that I was on the road at all? He just might be one of those citizens, who watches everybody, I don't know.
It could be.
But that could just be his personality.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. Especially as people get older, they get more and more like that.
That's right. Mind you, I'd been on Cuss Road once before with two other supporters.
Lost your audio.
Me? Can you hear me?
Not hearing you.
No? I can hear you.
Oh, I hate it. I hate technical difficulties when you're live.
Let me just turn this off and I'll go back to...
We're coming through great, but it just suddenly went out. It's weird.
Hang on. Just a moment.
Can you hear me now?
Wait, so they could hear you?
Oh, the viewers can hear?
Put it back in.
Okay, I've got to turn it back on.
There we go. I got it. How did that happen?
I took
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Somehow.
Okay, good.
Dude, I'm going to have to tape that. I don't know. Somehow the volume little knob on my headphones got... That's weird. Anyways, all right.
Yeah, so I was saying that I had been on Cuss Road once before and hadn't in June with two other supporters, and we actually went all the way down that little funny road to the deer camp as well.
Oh.
You wouldn't want to be there at night, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
But I didn't meet Leo on that at that time. So anyway, look, I think all these things are deserving of at least consideration, and if they prove to be nothing, well, that's great. So that's the point, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I just think it's interesting, Where are the dogs active? In the quarry, Cuss Road. Are they interested in Avery Salvage? No, not really. They get started off in Avery Salvage, but then they just jump over the berms and head into the quarry almost every time. So
yeah, that's where it all happened for sure.
It's like there is interest in that area. So somebody coming up with a claim like that, it piques my interest. Pardon me if that offends anybody, but it piques my interest. So anyway.
And, and all that's also supported by Kathleen Zellner's work on the phone tower pings, and that Teresa's last ping was on the Whitelaw Tower, which is in the southwest side of that area. If you were on Avery Salvage Yard, if you're in Avery Salvage Yard, you wouldn't be accessing the Whitelaw Tower for your mobile phone.
Right.
So all that supports her narrative that the last time her phone was being used was on County Road Q, or down in that area.
Right.
which is the road that runs north-south down from 147.
Right.
And
I showed everybody that in the map today. But when I
Yeah.
was showing your clips, I showed everybody on a map. So,
yeah,
yes, Rom Q, he is an Aussie. He's from down under.
good day, mate. That's me.
He's getting ready to throw another shrimp on the Barbie
All right.
for some visitors.
Yes, I am.
Hopefully. Let's see.
So just to wrap that little point up, without getting too detailed about it, just going there and going to these locations that we're all familiar with by name, but to go there and to have a sense of what it means, what the environment is like when you're at Avery Salvage Yard, or when you're Mishicot, or when you're down by the dam where the RAV was sighted, whether you're around in the quarry. I've been around in the quarry there. When I went over to Chiltern to the courthouse just to have a sense of what that was like,
Right.
and so on. All these things add contextual framework that help for a better understanding of the events of those days.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I'm just sending something to Travis here. Hey, Travis, check your cell phone, buddy. So you went down to Chilton. That's, and that was where they had Stephen's trial, right? It was in Chilton,
Yes,
right?
Chiltern, which is like the main town or city, not a city, town in Calumet.
Right.
Yeah. Interestingly, one of the things I learned from, they bussed in the jurors. The jurors were selected from Manitowoc County in Stephen's trial. The trial was held in Calumet in Chiltern. But every day they would get on a bus from Manitowoc and be bussed into Chiltern. I said to one of the jurors who we know, and you know, what was the protocol each day? Well, there was no, they would, when they were bussed back to Manitowoc, they were free to go home each night. And so they were certainly capable of, even though I guess they were probably instructed not to look at the news, they were certainly capable of watching the news and the coverage of the trial that was on the news that evening, and being phoned by whomever. It was only when they retired to consider the verdict were they in lockdown. That was the only time they had no access to the outside world. Well, allegedly anyway.
Right.
Except for the pizza delivery boy.
Right.
The sheriff's office, right?
Right. Who happened to be related to somebody.
Yeah.
I think, anyways, just,
Yeah.
Bizarre happenings continue to come around this case, but, so.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. All right. Well, I was thinking about having Travis come on to talk about the new Brady development, but he basically says he needs to look into it more. I feel like I need to look into it more, so we're gonna skip it and do it tomorrow or the next day. So,
okay.
But now that we've talked about Leo let's talk about the new development with
the phone call.
Mark, calling Zellner and thinking somehow that it's Thomas Fallon. And we can talk about whether or not, there's some people out there saying, well, he did it deliberately. He's trying to create plausible deniability by being able to say, oh, well, we actually don't know where it's at. Look, we accidentally left that message, like if they're trying to possibly going to use it. Either way, they look like clowns, in my opinion. But go ahead. Any thoughts?
Yes. I mean, this just goes to the heart of the game playing. Really, that's what it's about. I mean, I can't believe that was a deliberate leaving of that message. It's hard to believe that they could be so stupid. But either way, it just serves to highlight, as you say, the nature of the circus we're dealing with. And none of that, irrespective of whether the phone call takes place, none of that takes away from the fact that the bones were known to be human, and were returned to the hallmarks contrary to all the statutory obligations about preserving them or notifying or getting consent.
Right.
It's just one big circus.
Yeah.
And
Send in the clowns.
Exactly. And, I mean, all that we're asking for here, or not, that Kathleen on behalf of Stephen is asking, is for an evidentiary hearing. And as is quite regularly stated, both by the lawyers amongst us and those who know a bit about it, is that it's not for the court to judge, to prejudge whether that information should be considered or not. There's enough accumulated information from Kathleen Zellner and reports. There's probably about 6 or 7 or 8 key things.
Yeah.
And then the evidentiary hearing is then to have that evidence tested under oath, under cross-examination, and then the judge can take an opinion about what to conclude from that situation.
Yeah.
So they should just let her have her evidentiary hearing. That's all that really is necessary.
I'd like to hear both sides argue about it. I personally would like to hear that. So,
and if there's no value in it, or if it's not meritorious in terms of the case, well then, that'll be shown in that hearing.
Yeah.
But we're seeking the truth here. That's what we're seeking, and the justice system is about seeking the truth.
Yeah.
And whilst they constantly resist, they're undermining the justice system. It doesn't matter whether it's Stephen Avery or Brendan Dassey or whom it is. The system is there to work in a certain way to serve the interests of justice.
Yes.
And there is no way on God's earth should there not be an evidentiary hearing on this matter.
Right.
And the issue with the phone call and the bones is just yet another example of the clown behavior that's been going on.
Yeah, it is. So, folks, as you see there, guys can go over to her channel right now. She did a video today talking about the new Brady developments and stuff. We will be covering it here as well, just not tonight. But if you're curious about that, you can go over there to her channel, and she explains quite a bit of the law and the case law, basically behind what this decision that was made, the implications it's going to have. I was watching a bit of her video. That's how I kind of know what's going on a little bit, but I still need to look into it more. But basically, it's going to prevent judges from taking the attitude that Judge Sukowitz took with one of the decisions she made in this case, where she basically felt it was the burden was on the defense to seek out and everything. And Zellner's been pointing it out, by the way, in her motions. It has been clearly established it is not supposed to be a prosecution hide, defender go, or defense go seek situation. But so anyways, the Wisconsin Supreme Court recently made a ruling that is now basically kind of hoping to cure this attitude that judges have taken when it comes to Brady, that the burden is somehow falling to the defense instead of to the state. So anyways, it's interesting stuff. It's complicated stuff. I was going to have Travis come on and talk about it right now, but I think he needs to review it a bit more before he can do so. So we'll meet Travis, and I'll hit that up tomorrow. So anyway.
Yeah, it's fascinating that particular story or that particular issue, because to me it restores the proper balance. The balance should be about disclosure, not about discovery.
Right.
And as it's mentioned in that article and that ruling, it's unfair for the defense, who are often represented by under-resourced lawyers, to have to be some arch detective to discover information that's basically just sitting there in the hands of the prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like the CD, the CD issue, the CD and the pages that go with that.
Right.
I mean, that was the easy to read, immediately understandable documentation.
Yep.
That handed to the defence would have had the effect of casting doubt on the character of Bobby Dassey.
Yep.
And impeach his reliability as a witness.
Yep.
That's not to say anything about Bobby's guilt or otherwise. I'm not commenting on those issues, but that was information that the defence was entitled to have, and it was deliberately withheld from them because it would have been very obvious to them what that meant. It was not only withheld from them, it was held from them, if you like, for about 7 or 8 months, and even then, that summary CD was not handed over, and then the index created to support the handover of the DVDs was misleading. They referred to it as Brendan's computer, and it wasn't Brendan's computer at all. It was the family computer, of which Bobby was the main user of it. So their lies of omission, and these things are just unacceptable in a fair justice system.
Yeah.
Now, Judge Sukowicz I think when she ruled on that issue, said, "Oh, well, that information was available somewhere deep in the dark depths of the encased DVDs."
Right.
Well, I mean, that's not good enough. I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah,
good
but it's all turned over a month before Denny's due and everything. I mean, the prosecution had it for 8 months prior to that, and to turn it over like that right before trial, that close to trial, I mean, that to me is just shows a deliberate, attempt to hide it. And
information is information. It doesn't matter. The CD is a piece of evidence, and the report is a piece of evidence. It should have been handed over. It doesn't matter whether some of it was somewhere in the depths of the other DVDs.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It should have been handed over. Simple.
Travis asks, so what did Alan think about you coming all the way from Australia to Crivets?
He was pretty taken aback by it. In fact, I travelled up there with Sandra Greenman, and Sandra hadn't been to Crivets either before, remarkably. And Sandra said that Alan had always asked her to come up and visit there. So when we turned up there unannounced, he regards Sandra as almost as a daughter, and he was just absolutely over the moon that she was there, and the fact that I was this wandering Australian from 20,000 kilometres away, or however far it is, made it especially interesting for him. And in fact, I only went up for the day and came back, but I did run into him back at the salvage yard a few days later, which was the day I was leaving to come home, and he was very happy to see me again. I mean, I'm just an everyday sort of guy anyway, but generally are very taken by the level of interest shown by people both near and far, and it means a lot to them, a real lot to them.
Yeah. Yep, you're lucky bastard you got to go meet Alan.
Yeah, and I've had some robbies, just put a bit of salt on them.
What kind of beers do you drink?
Oh, gee, I can't remember the brand names now, but it was cold. So long as it's cold and it's with good friends, it's perfect. So
that's funny. Okay, so what about the flyover video? And only some of it being Vanessa Overton, I don't know. That would be a question for Travis. Maybe he'll answer it in the comments here. And by the way, Chase is asking what you do for a living. Are you comfortable talking about that, or?
Yeah, sure. I have my own business. I'm a financial advisor and accountant, and pretty much I focus on managing people's money who are at or near retirement, and I've been doing that for quite a number of years. And I'm lucky in the nature of my business and the technology that drives it. I can pretty much be anywhere in the world and still be running my business,
right?
Which has a huge impact on my ability to travel and be in places, but still be productive in terms of my own activities. So the other thing it does, it gives me a great perspective on people's attitudes towards life and what's important and so on. So whilst technically there's a financial aspect to what we do in terms of managing money, it's almost it's guiding people on a journey is really what is at the heart of what we do.
Right.
Making sure they understand what they can achieve and what's important in life. So, it's a good industry to be in.
There you go. I know. Yeah, managing money is a difficult thing to do.
Some of the listeners here would be aware of the fact that I got asked by Stephen and Sandra Greenman, approached me to ask to assist them in the management of a trust for Stephen. The trust is designed to provide him some level of support immediately after he's released. And whilst, without getting too far down the track, they're highly likely there'd be some civil case in Stephen's situation. That's not something that happens immediately or happens quickly. So he'll need support, and so I'm doing that for them as well. Just do that pro bono. There's no cost to them in doing that, and it's going quite well actually. So we're happy with that.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Way cool. Okay, Linda K. Breyer asks, does Mark travel around supporting and speaking for the wrongly convicted? Or is that just something that happened since MAM?
Yes, you're right. The second one.
The second one?
It just happened since MAM. But gee whiz, I know most people involved in this would say the same thing. The involvement in MAM and these cases has really added a huge value to me as an individual, understanding the injustices that can go on and do go on in the world.
Yeah.
I'm just lucky that I have the life circumstances and the work circumstances that make me a fairly mobile individual.
Yeah.
And I live in a country like the United States. We live in a lucky country.
You did it right, man.
I have a guiding philosophy in life that what comes with luck is the obligation to share it. So my willingness to travel and help and do whatever I can within my framework of possibility is just what I want to do, and I'm sure it'll continue in other circumstances way beyond MAM. So,
I kind of always think about a principle that they talk about a lot in 12-step programs. But when I think in terms of like all the knowledge I have about this case and all the knowledge that a lot of us have about this case, this one thing from the 12-step programs always comes back. The best way we have to keep what we have is to give it away.
Yes. Right?
And when they say it in a 12-step meeting, it means by them continuing to give away the knowledge of how to stay sober and working the steps and whatever. But I think in this, when it comes to things like this, where we've done all this research and there's all this knowledge there that Joe Blow, John Q. Public, really isn't inclined to go searching and looking into the documents. But if he can watch a 15 to 40 minute video that kind of covers a lot of those things and makes kind of some of those things clear to him, well, then he's willing to do that usually. So that's so for me, it's all about the best way to keep what we have in terms of the level of attention and the heat and the focus that we're keeping on this is it's all about continuing to give it away. And so I've always felt that was an apt, way.
I couldn't agree more. One of the things I often think about and talk to my clients about is this, that 100 years from now, pretty much everyone who's currently living on planet Earth will be gone.
Right.
They won't be here. So, and 100 years in the life of planet Earth is nothing. It's a really interesting way to look at when you are here and you have an ability or an opportunity to do something to make life better for those that follow, then you should. It could just be in the knowledge that you impart, or the making someone more conscious of the injustices in the world and trying to help others who have been less fortunate than yourself.
Yes.
These legacy things, which you may not see a direct consequence of in your own lifetime, are there. It's a bit like when you drive into a little country town, and on the outskirts of the town, the main road into town may well be lined with really large, beautiful oak trees or whatever the species is, and they're massive, big trees. And you often wonder whether the guy or guys or ladies who planted those trees ever got to see them that large. Probably not. But did it make it any less important that they plant them?
Right.
No, clearly. So you have to start somewhere, and if you believe in your ability to influence the future, well, then you plant the tree.
Right.
And there doesn't have to be immediate gratification for that. The gratification is, if you like, achieved by knowing that your intent was honorable. So,
yeah. Whoa. Oh, thank you very much, Chase. That's very kind. Thank you so much. Let's see. I've been meaning to hook you up with a decent meal or something for a while because thanks for all you do. I have a ton of respect for you no matter what. The boys really appreciate it. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Chase. Those are very kind words, and thank you so much. You're very kind. So let's play a little clip of the Havering Scotsman here real quick.
Eunice, what does to haver mean?
To talk a lot of nonsense.
To talk a load of shit?
Yeah.
Talk a load of crap?
Yeah, like you do.
Not you mean not me. No. Erekose, like what Erekose says.
No, you.
No, not me.
Dude, I just love it when she turns around at him and it's like, no, you.
Yeah. You never get tired of that one.
Is the gift that keeps on giving, man. Oh my gosh, I love that clip.
Yeah, it's a classic.
You guys surprised the hell out of me when you appeared next to freaking Paul there in his live video, dude. Oh my god, you guys. I was like, yeah, that was surprising. Because I just finally got done with work and hadn't been watching the first part, so I didn't see the deception. I just turned it on, went to YouTube and touched, whatever, tapped it, and it came up, and I'm like, hey, they're sitting next to each other.
Yeah, I had a very quick but very enjoyable journey to Galashiels in Scotland. It was great to meet Paul for the first time, and Eunice, his lovely wife, and
yes.
And experience the environment within which he lives. And he's an absolute soldier to the cause, just like yourself. And it's just fun to be part of the enthusiasm they have for justice. So
yes, indeed.
Yeah, despite his havering.
So I was going to say, let's talk about maybe one or two more things. One thing I wanted to talk about was with this, these new developments, and you and I were talking about this before we went live, but with these new developments, to me, it's like first it started with the pages of Queso that weren't forwarded, right?
Yes.
They were never updated for Stevens appellate attorneys. Kathleen Zellner was working from the same record from the appellate attorneys, and nobody had ever bothered to update the record, or send them the update to the record and everything. And so first we find out about the final pages 1114 and 1115, and those aren't handed over. So that's like the state holding back and hiding there in one place, right?
Yes.
Then, after she files about that, thank you so much, Martha. After we hear about that, 2 days later, she's coming through going, look, here in the ledgers, right here. Look, it's dated 9/2011, and it's got all these bones and whatever, and they're being taken to the Whiting Funeral Home or whatever, right? And she's like, so here it is. Well, guess what? This isn't in the ledgers that Stephen's appellate attorneys had, and then she has the affidavit from Stephen's appellate attorneys, plainly stating we were never informed about potentially getting rid of evidence. We've never been informed about that. We have no idea about that. They never talked to us about it. We never got a phone call, basically.
No.
Martha, sorry, just real quick. Martha Dickinson says, Chase, I'll match you, and I totally agree. Thank you, Erekose. Thank you for the truth you seek, finding the path of justice for SAMBD. Thank you so much, Martha Dickinson. I appreciate that. Uh-oh. The Mad Scotsman has joined us.
Oh, I better get in my extra large pair of headphones.
Either that or wellies.
Yeah, that's right.
This is gonna get deep.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much, Chase, and thank you very much, Martha Dickinson. You guys are very kind. Thank you so much. Oh, good evening.
Hey, Mr. Capaldi.
Eunice, what does to have mean?
To talk a lot of nonsense.
To talk a load of shit?
Yeah.
Talk a load of crap?
Yeah, like you do.
No, you mean not me. No. Erekose, like what Erekose says.
No, you.
No, not me.
Oh, Paul, it's the gift that keeps on giving, man. Thanks for that.
I know. I feel like I'm a bigger Wally than Mark Williams.
Oh, thank you so much, Denise. That's very kind. For Erekose, the World Tour of Support. Hopefully. I think we're headed for at least something of a world tour here. It's just up to me to get my passport. Right?
Now, I was going to ask a question.
Oh, yeah?
And I actually sent you a message, but I noticed that you hadn't actually read it. And what I was really wanting to ask is, it's not you, dude. It was really Mark, and
yes.
it was about your thoughts on the Australian supporters. There seems to be a lot of them.
There are.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think probably there are a few reasons. One is obviously we're a Western democracy like the United States. We have in structure a similar justice system. I should haste to add some major divergence in terms of application of that system.
Yes.
And, I think it may in fact also play on a point I was making earlier. I'm not sure whether you were online at the time, Paul, and that is that most Australians feel very privileged to be Australian, and we're a lot that appreciate what we have, and therefore when we see wrong being done to others, we speak out about it. And I think that's probably why there is a huge contingent of Australians behind this cause.
There's a lot of Australian supporters that kind of follow my videos, I think.
Yep.
Often. Trust me, whenever I wear that jersey that Mark gave me, I always get a couple of the Aussies always go, "Oh, is that the football? What is it? It's actually cricket, right?"
No, that particular one is a rugby one.
Yeah, spot on, dude, as usual.
It's a rugby.
It's a rugby shirt. I know it's not a rugby
Eunice,
shirt.
what does to have mean?
To talk a lot of nonsense.
To talk a load of shit?
Yeah.
Talk a load of crap?
Yeah, like you do.
No, you mean not me. No. Erekose, like what Erekose says.
No, you.
No, not me.
You see, you don't mess with the guy whose channel you're live on, right? So there you go.
It's a baseball shirt, dude.
Baseball.
Oh
okay.
God, yeah, right.
It's baseball now. Okay.
Hey,
Paul, do me a favor. Haver for my subscribers real quick about how the World Series and your issues with it. I'd love it.
Oh God.
We've not got time.
That'll be the video Paul will put out 3 hours from now. Anyway.
Yeah, I have to agree with Paul on that point. How do you have a World Series when the only country playing in it is the United States?
Well, I would answer that with Paul actually can tell you that Britain has a baseball league. Okay.
But do they play in the World Series?
Well, I don't think they could, Mark. Because I think if you picked an all-star team out from that entire league or whatever, right, and picked an all-star team, all right, and put that team together and have it come over here and play just whatever, even let's say a 500 team over here in the States, I'll bet you anything they'll get their butts kicked. Okay? Because this is where people care about baseball. Trust me, if Australia or Britain had teams that were on par with the teams we have here in the US, then maybe there would be considerations. Trust me, the MLB would love to probably be able to expand out into other areas of the world. Personally, I think they would love it. But the point is, you guys aren't going to be able to field the teams that aren't just going to be embarrassments.
Mark, you have just wound him up. You've just turned the key on the back and wound him up. Watch him go. Watch him go.
Actually, you're probably right about we actually do have a strong baseball league in Australia because the fundamental skill sets in baseball are similar to cricket.
Right.
But it's not so much that. It's just the tag of world,
Yes.
But, I suppose 50 states of America almost makes you the world, does it? I suppose.
I mean, so it's, hey, dude, you guys got to admit that the United States kind of has set an example. I don't know what we're doing nowadays, but 200 years ago, we were setting an example in the world. So,
yeah. Just remember what happened to the Roman Empire.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to deny the validity of that statement. So there you go.
I saw a thing the other day. It said, "I wish the Romans would reinvade. We need our roads repaired."
Yeah.
No, what I was going to particularly ask as well, Mark, was one Australian in particular, a big fan of mine, Carol Ann Fitzgerald, has actually taken my advice and actually gone and done something. And I would say fair play to her and well done. And she's actually being credited by Kathleen Zellner.
Yep. Kathleen Zellner, that today. Her by name, yeah.
Yep. So
I'm glad. I hope she's finally got all the recognition that she was looking for, because she was causing me a lot of grief there for a minute when she didn't feel like she was getting it. So I'm happy she's getting it now.
Absolutely. Yep. And
Carol's a soldier when it comes to investigation. So
yeah, I love her. She's a sharp, she's a sharp one. I love her for that. It's just recently there was a little bit of a so, but it went past.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That happened.
I liked Mark's voicemail when we were talking about Mark Williams phoning Zellner by mistake. Go on, tell everybody what you said.
What I said?
Yeah.
I wish I could. I wish I could play it. And I'm using my phone to conduct this interview, so I think if I tried to play it, it'll mess it up. But it basically went like this.
Paraphrase it.
So I was pretending to be the Kathleen Zellner voicemail greeting, and it goes like this. Thank you for calling Kathleen Zellner. I'm sorry I can't answer the phone at the moment, but if you're an attorney general, staff, or employee or hack, please leave an incriminating message
at the tone.
Get back to you as soon as.
That's awesome.
I like the way you sort of edited out some of the nicer words in that, Mark. Oh dear.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Mark?
Well, maybe his reception went down a bit. I don't
Yeah.
know. So anyway, dude, what have you been up to?
I don't know. Making videos.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark's phone died.
Oh dear. Oh, was it his power?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. His phone died.
Yeah.
So, all
When-
right.
when-
Well, it was a pleasure to have Mark here. And
Yeah.
you have any other more questions there for me, Mr. Matt Scotsman?
Questions for you. Now I've probably got loads of them, but I can't think of them right at the moment because I'd have to look at my phone. But no, I was just going to suggest that whenever I phone you, I always keep my phone on charge. You know, I keep it plugged in on charge. But I don't know. It was strange how you lost volume from Mark a while back. I remember when we started to do our little chat, he wasn't coming through at all, and then he did some fiddling about with his Bluetooth. That was when he was in Romania, and then all of a sudden it started working again. So it's he's left the call altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, dropped out altogether. Oh well, he's away to feed his sharks.
Freeze shark.
It's baby sharks. So from what I've been hearing about the Brady stuff is that they're actually tightening up on them, and this could be good news for Steve.
Right, that's what I mean.
Coupled with the fact that we've got the good news that Evers is looking at the at pardoning people now.
Mm-hmm.
Things could be looking up.
Yeah.
We just how long is it now till we have to wait till the oh no, the court can make its the appeals court can make its decision anytime, can't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's no sort of time frame on that, is there?
Not that I know of.
No, but the fact that they're taking their time, one would hope it's a good thing, surely.
Sorry, what?
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Travis is sitting here trying to tell me that I can expedite the passport and everything, and I know I could do that, but I'm trying to avoid paying a bunch of money if I can. So I'm going to try and take it straight to the federal building. Anyways.
Good idea. No, I was saying about the fact that it's the Eva's pardoning the possibly pardoning Brandon and with this Brady stuff. In fact, it's been quite quiet today, hasn't it? In the sense that we were getting used to Kathleen Zellner filing a letter every day, and it's a bit quieter today. So, but I just hope that if the Supreme Court is not the Supreme Court, sorry, the appeals court, if they're taking their time to look at it and actually think about what they're going to do to deal with this. And I believe that they can either send it back to Supovich and say you need to look at this and possibly do an evidentiary hearing, or just send it back to her and say do an evidentiary hearing. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, that's or they could lay out some very definite instructions about what they want.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what the Court of Appeal says, really, honestly. So. But they're not making that decision quickly. And we all know how quickly they can deny things. So,
and it's a shame that we don't get to know which actual judge on the panel of four. There's four that deal with District 2, isn't there? And do you know who they are?
Who's that?
The four judges in District 2 of the appeals.
No, one of them's Gundrum.
One of them's Gundrum. One of them is
the guy you like, right? Yeah.
Yeah. One's Lisa Neubauer. One of them is a guy, I believe his name is Paul Liley. And the fourth one is that Brian Hagedorn.
Right.
And I remember getting a message from a friend of ours saying, quite literally, if Brian Hagedorn has anything to do with this, Steve walks.
Right.
So I'd really like to know which judge. Did Tracy say that it could be a panel of them, though?
Well, it would be 3. There should be 3 judges.
Right.
That's what I've always understood anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I think this is going to be interesting to see what they do about this this phone call. I've just seen a tweet from TikTok manager, and he's put a picture of one of those kiddies' toys with the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I can just imagine what it's about. I can just imagine. Right. I'm going to say cheerio because I'm actually I've got to get up pretty early, and then tomorrow morning I've got to get up at the most ridiculous time and take Eunice to the airport because she's going off for a few days with her pals. So Muggins here has got to take them to Edinburgh Airport, and they've got to be there for 6 a.m.
Lucky you.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
All right, buddy. Well, I'll
Okay.
play a little Stacy for you here on the way out, so hopefully that'll help.
Actually, could we get like I really like the Eagles. Could we get a bit of Life in the Fast Lane?
No.
Oh.
Absolutely not.
Hotel California?
Nope.
No, I'm like the dude actually.
You gotta stay away from the copyright stuff.
Can you turn off the Eagles? I hate the Eagles. Get out my cab.
They say you can trust us. Oh, but they use a badge for an illusion of justice. Oh, they say you can trust us. Oh, but they use the flag for an illusion of justice. It's indefensible. Oh, now what they did, convict an innocent man twice with a 16-year-old kid. Yes, we can turn away, pretending all the pieces fit. Oh, but if we turn away, we let them get away with it. Oh, they say you can trust us. Oh, but they use the badge for an illusion of justice. Oh, they say you can trust us. Oh, but they use the flag for an illusion of justice. Of justice.
Yeah, we'll look into Brady here. We'll be looking into that.
We need a wrecking crew to tear this whole case down. Oh, did you hear the news? There's a new sheriff in town. Not the knee-touching one, not the one supported by them clowns. Oh, the superhero one. She's gonna tear their house of cards down. Oh, they say you can trust us. Oh, but they use the badge for an illusion of justice. Oh, they say you can trust us. All the abuse the flag.
You're welcome,
for the
everybody. You're all great.
delusion
I
of
love you all for being
justice.
here, continuing to tune in.
We need a wrecking crew
To tear this whole thing down.
2 years since MAM, now here I go again. To confine innocent men in a 10 by 10. Face.
Oh, now the man deserves.
But
The
fear
fear
breeds
breeds silence in Manitowoc. You don't say nothing cause you know you're cops.
But
Someone knows something, yet everyone plays ball.
I say
And we round them all up. Let's brain fingerprint them all.
Everything about the case was suspicious. I hope the Biden teeth of justice is so vicious. For those who bred the lie, they temporarily preserve. From time into typos to Brendan's so-called confession, to the fact that Peterson was out of town when she went missing. How can we forget
Andy, Sam, William, Henry Call.
I say we round them all up. Let's brain fingerprint them all. So much planted evidence now anyone can see. The magic bullet and blood in the RAV. And even evidence that defies gravity. The key
They turned up 7 searches later with none of her DNA at all. Let's brain fingerprint them all.
I say we
Round them all up. Let's brain fingerprint them all.
Who's pulling strings? I want to know that top rank. For those who pay attention, all the unbanked stank. And those that are smiling, they always know who would take the fall. I say we round them all up. Let's brain fingerprint them all. I say we round them all up. Let's brain fingerprint them all.
Alrighty. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, especially for those 40 of you stuck around all the way till the end. Thank you very much. I love all you guys. Thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you for the very kind donations. Thank you to Mark Hoddinott for coming over and talking with us. Thank you, thank you for everybody just, doing like what Jerry's tweet said earlier today. And he was telling everybody, all of you out there, the web sleuth that are helping to make a difference right now, keep it up. Keep it up. I retweeted his tweet and said, "You heard the man." So, you heard the man. All right. Anyways, guys, that's about it. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see ya.